Okay, so Dr. Ross Woods received his doctorate in humanities in 1993, in London. He had served in Indonesia from 1978 to 98 in many roles, including teaching in an international school, research supervisor, assistant dean, college lecturer, board member, language program coordinator, and advisor to various institutions. So since 98, he has been principal or academic dean of the Australian Centre for Advanced Studies and is currently president of Worldwide University in Arizona, USA. Beliau juga bisa berbahasa Indonesia. Jadi nanti kalau misalnya mau tanya langsung, mungkin nggak mau ngetik gitu ya, mau tanya langsung bisa raising hands, atau di layar Bapak Ibu nanti ada fitur raise hands ya, angkat tangan. Nanti akan saya persilahkan untuk bertanya langsung dengan Pak Ros. Okay. So I think without further ado, whenever you're ready, Ros, you can start your presentation.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and pardon me, I'm going to turn off my camera. Is that okay?
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you to Pak Daniel Ginting, who invited me, and also thank you for Amy, who helped set it up. When we talked about this, we found that there were lots of people who did not have good information. And that's why we chose this topic. What I have found in Australia, the information that we have been given here has been very good. The Australian government has done very well. I'm just trying to get to... Australian government information has been very good. The government TV and media have been good, and the radio has been very good. My information from other parts of the world, in America, it has been quite different from place to place. Some of the information has been the National Health Advisor to the President has been very good. In New York, the advice, I think, has been very good. In other places, it has not been anywhere near as good. In Australia, I'll give you a hint. Best information is a podcast from a government person whose name is Norman Swan. Swan is S-W-A-N, same as the bird. He is a medical doctor and he works for the government radio, and he puts out a podcast. Something new every day. It's always based on research. There have been other topics I have disagreed on with him, but when it comes to medical information about coronavirus, he has been very, very good. Also good. Hang on. Just also very good is health academics. If they are in health, the information is usually very good. and I understand that it is the same nearly everywhere in the world. In Australia, the commercial TV news has also been very good, and it is always the same, and it always presents the same viewpoint. So I have no shortage of information here on coronavirus that I can trust. The trouble is that there is some very bad information out there. I'd like to ask for Ounu and anybody else, what kind of information have you had? Have you felt that your information has been good?
Well, in my end, I think most of the informations that I have received, I try to choose the source of the information, whether it's from the government or any credible media, you know, those sort of things.
Yeah. So we need to be quite selective about the sources. What I've heard from the Indonesian government is that it's basically very good. But what I see on social media is almost without exception very bad. The Facebook is one of the worst, and people can write anything on Facebook. It is not edited usually, and all sorts of people have all sorts of opinions. They can say anything they like. It doesn't need to be done. They might not have any expertise at all, but they have opinions. And opinions without knowledge is very dangerous. The other thing is WhatsApp groups. I'm a member of a WhatsApp group in East Java. It's all either Indonesian or Javanese, and some of the stuff that I get over that WhatsApp group is bad information. But people don't know what to believe. They don't know any better, so they believe whatever they hear. Another kind of bad information are blogs. A blog is a web page that is written by somebody. It's not checked by anybody who knows anything. It is just an opinion. It might be good information, but it might be very bad. And website newspapers are almost the same thing. You know, I get sometimes a click through to, and I won't mention a particular newspaper, but it's a website, it's not checked by anybody, it's not published by anybody that might be responsible. It might be good information, but it might be very bad. So the question is not whether the information is good or bad, because it might be very, very good. The question is, how do you know that it's good? I wonder if any of the students or other listeners have had any kind of particular experience.
All right. You might want to, if you have any opinion, you might want to turn on your microphone. I mean, turn on your microphone and start speaking. If not, you can go on. Probably Ross.
Okay. Yep. You have a very reticent group. The list of what they do wrong. They claim to speak for politicians. I had one post on one thing that said, this politician somewhere else in the world said this. And they said the craziest thing. I doubt that the politician actually said that. I don't believe it. So they said in that online newspaper that a politician somewhere said something. Not necessarily true, because the source was a website, news service or a blog or something like that. Sometimes they claim to speak for government. They say, our government does this, and it might not be true. It might not be representing what the government actually said. One of the WhatsApp groups got around this by actually providing a copy of the government letter. In Indonesia, everybody knows what a surat keputusan is, and the Bupati, I think it was, or Wali Kota Madya sent out an SK to all schools saying this is what is decided, and that was much more believable. But if they just say person A said something, don't believe it. Might not be true. Another kind of thing is rumours. Rumours are really dangerous. They say all sorts of things in these rumours. Okay, pass on a couple. That somebody somewhere created this virus in a laboratory. And I've now heard a couple of different stories about which country started it as a weapon. I don't believe any of them. Some of them are conspiracy theories that somebody believes that it started in a certain particular way, and then it turned into something else. That some government made it somewhere as a weapon. Or if you do this, you'll get healed. The word conspiracy theory, I asked Ounu at the beginning, is will people understand what a conspiracy theory is? And he said most people would. It's good that they do. It's basically a secret plan, but it's an accusation and there's no way of proving whether it's true or false. And the reason why people believe it is it sounds so credible, nobody can prove that it's wrong. And sometimes people don't have better information, so they want to believe it. Really strange things go on. There's people out there with a conspiracy theory that the Earth is flat and photos taken from outer space are fake. There's a conspiracy theory that the astronauts never ever went to the moon and NASA faked the photographs. All sorts of conspiracy theories out there. Don't believe any of them. They always come from unreliable sources. And rumours, conspiracy theories are really your worst source of information. There is another kind of thing that goes on. Somebody did a survey not very long ago about advertisements for cures, different kinds of medicine that would cure you. And there are around about 30 different kinds of medicines that you can buy out there that people say will cure you. I saw a thing on WhatsApp the other day that one of the influential people in Indonesia has now invented a herbal cure, and he's trying to sell it, saying that that is completely safe and will cure you from coronavirus. Not true. Oh, did somebody want to ask a question? Hello, I can see a face.
That one was interference, I think.
Oh, okay. Yes, I can see Christina's face. Felt exactly the same as my daughter's name, Christina. So there you go. One of the other theories going around is about chloroquine or hydrochloroquine that can cure somebody, and it can't really. In fact, the latest medical information says that it doesn't not only cure you, but for some people it causes a very bad reaction and can be very dangerous, hydrochloroquine. Now, in the beginning, they thought that might be helpful, and then they found out that it wasn't. So one of the things that you need to do is that even when you have reliable sources, you need to say, or you need to ask, when was the information published? Because the old information, even only a month ago, might have turned out to be wrong. In fact, when coronavirus first came to Australia, the information changed nearly every day. So keep your information sources up to date. Don't believe in the older information. Okay, questions?
All right, everyone. I haven't actually seen any questions from the Q&A page, but if you do have any questions, you can turn on your microphone and start asking questions to Ross.
Yeah.
Should we wait it out? Like,
yeah, I mean, I want to hear what kind of things people have heard.
Is it okay if I share my experience on coronavirus hoaxes?
Yeah, sure. There's lots of them. Yeah, and they're very interesting.
All right. So have you heard of this thing? Hang on, give me 2 minutes. Okay, sorry. So have you heard that if you try to hold your breath for 10 seconds, and then you can't do it, then you are very likely to be infected with coronavirus. Have you ever heard that?
I haven't heard that.
Okay, so that kind of I don't think it's there's a, like what you said, there's a grain of truth in it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are being infected by coronavirus.
No. The grain of truth is that coronavirus affects your lungs and it makes it hard to breathe. But that is not a reliable test.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been going on for like a month, and then suddenly it's just. So yeah, that's one of the things that I found on the internet.
Yeah. If you eat lots of garlic,
yeah,
that helps.
You're gonna have bad breath as well if you.
Yeah. What other sorts of things have you heard?
Or maybe I can share about my experience when it comes to hoaxes or conspiracy theories out there. Yep. So there are many interesting conspiracy theories, like 3 of them. One is that the coronavirus it doesn't exist. So it's just a hoax from the government. And then the second one would be that coronavirus is some kind of an elite agenda to make a population control or something, which happened every 100 years. Yeah, we heard that a lot. And then the third one is that the coronavirus actually mutates like along the way, and at the end it will create chaos, and then we'll turn the dead people from coronavirus thing into zombies. So yeah. And then we're going to have like this massive like end of the world, you know, dystopian thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my experiences.
That's quite strange.
Yeah.
There is a grain of truth in that viruses do mutate and change. That has a couple of different effects. One of the effects is that even if you are immune to the first form, you might not be immune to the second mutation. The other thing, and I got this from Norman Swan, it's not from me, is that viruses tend to mutate to be less deadly. And they survive that way, because if they kill off everybody, then the virus dies too. So they do mutate, but they tend to mutate to become less dangerous.
Yeah, that's
so
amazing.
So there's lots of interesting hoaxes. Has anybody else got any more hoaxes, conspiracy theories that they've heard?
I actually have one. So from Kak Ami said, like this is the elite agenda. So they want us to stay at home so they can create like this bunker outside for the elite to survive the apocalypse or something like that. So yeah, it's pretty messed up.
Pretty messed up, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the rich people get it too. Yeah. Yep. Any other conspiracy theories and hoaxes out there that you've heard?
Not really a conspiracy theory. It's more of a hoax. Hoaxes, plural. In my personal experience, the people that are the most susceptible to such information are either people that don't have the privilege of higher education, or if they do, then people that are not very technologically savant. And unfortunately, the majority of this population are people that is in charge of minors and children, so boomers. And I've been trying to search for the number of allergic reactions worldwide before and during the outbreak, but I have not found any. Still, I can imagine that a lot of these hoaxes can result in home remedies that lead to injury. How do you suppose we should deal with this? Because absolutely we cannot just ignore the people that, you know, believe in the hoax, hoping that they learn themselves, because children are in danger possibly from, you know, home remedies that cannot be trusted.
Yeah. The first, my opinion on this is that your starting point is to have some good information. The second point is figure out how to explain it in a very simple way that ordinary people can understand. And if you are dealing with people that are very uneducated, I'll do something in bahasa Indonesia, yeah, because I can't say this in English. Mungkin kita semua tahu apa artinya budaya ngobrol. Jadi kalau di desa, orang duduk di luar ngobrol berjam-jam. Dan mereka tukar pengalaman dan merasa belajar. Dan kalau informasinya baik, ya baik. Tapi kalau informasinya salah, mereka belajar yang salah. Jadi informasi yang mereka peroleh itu tidak menolong, malah menyesatkan. Jadi the budaya ngobrol thing is for many people, they want to talk and they need and they easily get bad information. So what you need is simple information and a way to pass it on. We had one of our TV presenters said, it is really simple. 2 rules. Don't get it. Don't pass it on. That's all there is to it. Now, not everybody is going to know what a virus is. Not everybody is going to know that there's different kinds of viruses and they are so small that you can't see them. But everybody knows what the flu is, but nobody's ever seen a flu virus. Now, corona is not a flu virus, but it is a virus is a virus, and you can pass it on to other people. Interesting statistic from Western Australia. Last year, there were 500 serious infections of the flu that people had to be hospitalised. With the coronavirus, people have been taking great care not to spread the coronavirus. It has also meant that they have not spread the flu virus. So we've only had 20 cases of people going to hospital with the flu. So the cases of virus spreading have gone way down. But you need only a very small number of simple rules so that people understand them and can get through them. But your information needs to be very correct. One of the things that people shared with me was a video done by a group in Surabaya. Now, it was just shared on the internet. Nobody knows where it came from, but it was very, very good information. You know, it was good to see at least some responsible people sharing good information. But our problem is, if we get it, how do we know that it's good? And we need a reliable source to compare it with. Yep, good. Any other experiences out there?
All right. Is there any other people who wants to share their experience with news involving coronavirus or COVID-19?
If there isn't, I'll just go on to my next point.
All right.
One of the things is that there are still some things where, even from the health people, the information is not absolute. I've got 3 examples. And there's all sorts of different opinions. Nobody is going to be guaranteed always right. Nobody is going to be guaranteed all wrong. Value of face masks, masker. The general advice here in Australia is that you don't really need to wear a mask if you haven't got the virus. What they are saying is that the main value of a mask is that if you've got it, it prevents you spreading it. So do ordinary people out there need to wear face masks? Different opinions. Some say yes, it's a good thing. Some people say no. I don't know. The other thing is about children going to school. Now, in Australia, the health advice here was kids can go back to school, providing it's managed well, there is no problem. And now most of the kids in this state are back at school. I think it's running at around about 75 or 80% of kids are back at school, and the government is wondering whether they should make it compulsory for next week. There are other places that think schools would be the worst place because it would be very easy for kids to pass the virus on to other kids. Different opinions, I don't know. Their opinions. The other one is how to define bubbles. Now, what a bubble means is a group of people who are isolated from everywhere else. Usually one household is one bubble because you cannot isolate yourself from everybody else in your family or your household. So that's how to define a bubble. What they've done in Western Australia is divided. First of all, they've cut Western Australia off from the eastern states, and a couple of the other states have also done that. So nobody can bring the virus from other states. We have no international flights, so nobody with a couple of exceptions, can bring it in by airplane anymore, unless they have a permit, and even then they have to go into quarantine in their own bubble. They have also cut Western Australia up into several smaller areas, and each one of them has travel borders which you can't cross unless you have a permit. Like, for example, it's your job or you're a medical person. So they have defined bubbles in different ways. It's interesting now, it has come up again with the football teams. If we have a national competition, how do football teams travel to other places and play against other football players? And there's lots of different opinions on how football teams should be put in bubbles in different places. And some of the advice is and cannot be absolute. For example, at the beginning, they said, if you have these symptoms, you should be checked for coronavirus. And then they said, what if you are asymptomatic? In other words, you have no symptoms, or your symptoms are so minor that you don't feel particularly sick. And then there are some people for whom 14 days might not be long enough, and they still have the virus, but the period of isolation or quarantine has finished, and they've still got it. So there's different opinions, different rules. They can vary from place to place. So that's how it is. Any question on things that might be different opinions?
All right, we're opening questions again, or in response to the story, whether it is similar to what happened in Western Australia and what happened in East Java in particular. If you do have anything that you want to share, please turn on your microphone.
Oh yeah, pulang hari raya, Pak. Kenapa?
Saya di Malang, bukan dari Malang.
Tapi orang Jakarta ya. Everybody wanted to go home, mudik for hari raya. What happens?
Sorry, have you seen the news that people are trying to trick the government in the checkpoint, that they do things like hiding inside a truck or hiding inside inside a bus, but not as a passenger because they're not allowed to travel from one state to the other. So
yeah, I haven't seen that.
they're hiding in a truck posing as a luggage.
Yeah. Kan gostin gede, Pak.
Yeah.
Yeah, hiding his luggage, yeah. Yep, that's interesting. Or under a blanket. Yeah. Yep.
Some of them are even hiding in a drum just to get past the checkpoint.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So what other things so there been checkpoints around Jakarta? Has there been checkpoints around Surabaya?
Yeah, shortly, because it's funny thing is the Indonesian government, they don't do lockdowns, but they have PSBB. Well, basically it's lockdown, but the government won't pay for the citizens, because if you're locking down an area, according to Indonesian law, you're supposed to give money to people so they can survive.
Yeah.
But Indonesian government don't do that because of reasons.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to people Surabaya, Kalimantan, tempat. They basically say that they're in lockdown and they can't go out. I mean, with the school, people in Surabaya work from home. In Kalimantan, Pippin says that she goes to the office, but the teachers work from home and the students work from home as well. So they basically think they're in lockdown even when they're not.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna go until at least the beginning of June.
Yeah.
According to what I've heard.
But one of my friends in Surabaya said that the ojek drivers, they don't take any notice.
Okay.
I mean, they're all out there looking for passengers, same as ever.
Right.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to, get a living.
Yeah, that's right. And this gets into my next point. Government reactions vary.
Right.
There's two basic ways that governments can handle it. One is proactive. In other words, they do something to prevent the spread of the virus, and they make decisions very early. And that has always worked very well. The sooner the government make decisions with strong rules, the more quickly they can contain the virus. If they wait till the virus is everywhere and then they react, it's wrong, because everybody's, so many people are sick, thousands of people are dying. It's too late to do anything that really works effectively. So you have different kinds of government reactions. In the places like South Korea and Australia, where they acted as very quickly and perhaps could have acted even more quickly, they got rid of the problems fairly quickly. In places where they were very reactive, and in particular America, they have huge problems because of it. So it's much more important that they act quickly, and it was better for them to act very quickly and make decisions that were not perfect than to wait too long and then make perfect decisions because it was too late. In English, we say the horse is bolted. In other words, it's too late to shut the barn door because the horse has already gone. In Bahasa Indonesia, there's almost exactly the same as nasi sudah jadi bubur. If it's already become bubur, you don't have rice anymore. You can't have rice anymore. So if you let the virus go, the controls don't work. In Indonesia, one of the things that happens is that the policy has changed according to the stage of the virus. If you're very tough first, then depending on how it goes, you can be softer with the rules. Now, Indonesia is a very interesting case in point because the ojek drivers, for example, buruh harian, they're paid by the day. In Australia, we call that a gig economy. You know, you do a job, you get paid, that's the end of the job. So if they don't earn money, they go hungry. So they'd much rather take a risk with the virus than go hungry. I don't know what the answer to those kind of people is. What my biggest concern in Indonesia is when it gets into the kampungs, because everybody lives very close, and if it would spread very easily in a kampung in Indonesia, whether that's the edge of the city or in the village. When you have lots of people close together like that, isolation, what does it mean anymore? Lockdown, what does it mean anymore? In fact, the whole kampung becomes the bubble. The other thing is what we call in Australia, in English, student boarding houses, and what we all know as in Indonesia as kos, rumah kos. So you have lots of students all living in a kos in one usually fairly big house, and that becomes quite scary as well. Nobody knows the way back to normality. They're all the governments. Oh, sorry, the health people are always saying, if you want to get the health right, do this. And that is the only kind of advice they want to talk about. The government says, how do we balance health with economic health? Nobody knows the perfect answer. They have to balance up. I mean, from the health point of view, great that we're all healthy and alive, but we're broke and starving to death. Well, that's not a good outcome. On the other thing, if you talk only economic recovery, yeah, sure, we got lots of money. Trouble is, we're dead. So where's the balance? And nobody really knows the answer. The best answer that I've heard is that the government will open up the health restrictions and improve the economy. And if there is an outbreak of the virus, then they'll have to close down go back into some kind of lockdown to get the health back, and watch the balance that they get it right. And somebody said they will not probably get it right. They will sometimes go too far into the health and then sometimes too far into the economic, and then go back to health and economic, and they wobble through until it gets right. But nobody really knows the answer on that one. Any questions? No questions?
Yes, anyone who wants to ask question or want to state your opinion about it, feel free to turn on your microphone. So, okay, Ross, you actually stated a very interesting point about kos-kosan right there.
Yep.
So it is very relatable to the students here, because there are students who got stuck in Malang while they were from, for example, Madiun, Kediri, like that. And in few days, we're going to have a PSBB, pembatasan sosial skala besar. And therefore, it will be very hard for them to go back home for sure, or to just go out. Now, do you have any suggestions for us, the students, or anyone who got stuck in one city and who cannot move, what to do to us? Because it's very easy to be panic or to have anxiety.
I can understand the problem. I don't have a perfect answer to offer. I think that the answer, part of the answer will be how you define bubbles. The other thing will be now at Chung, have you moved everything to online, or are people still coming to campus?
Some people still go to work, but they have like shift. So, for example, today I work, tomorrow I don't, and then the day after that I work again. But Machung is not like 100% free of people.
Yeah. So it really is going to depend a lot on how you define your bubbles. So if you have the shift, early shift and a late shift, one cost is probably going to be one bubble, because you can't live in a cost without being close to the other people in the cost. And I need to tell you, cucu saya di Kalimantan itu kos di Banjarmasin, jadi saya juga kena soal ini juga. The other question is, kalau libur panjang pulang ke tempat asalnya itu Kediri atau Madiun atau apa, that becomes even trickier. If they live in a housing estate, which we'll call a perumahan, it is much easier. But if they live in a place that is more suasana desa, more a village atmosphere where people are very close, it would be more difficult there. I don't know what to say about that.
All right. Is there any other questions or stories to share, probably?
Hi, Ross. You mentioned something about medical and economical recovery. In your opinion, does the medical recovery also cover stuff like mental health? Because some families don't get along, and for people who don't really get along with their family and are suddenly expected to live 24/7 for a prolonged period with their parents or their brothers, perhaps, it can get tiring. It can damage their mental health. And in this case, the longer the quarantine goes on, the more dangerous, the more damaging it is for them. And So in that case, I think that the medical recovery for mental illness should happen within the quarantine period. But I have no idea how that entails. And maybe you have an idea for that. Thanks.
First of all, it's an extremely good point. In Australia, one of the things that people have talked about a lot is that if people are in isolation or lockdown for a long time, even if you're with people you like in your family or your household, people still get very frustrated. I mean, for me, we have a rule that says you're allowed to go out to buy food. So every day I go to a mall where there's food that's being sold. So I can always say that I'm allowed to do it. But for people who can't, very, very frustrating for them. And the normal advice here is get support, whether it's Facebook, talking with your friends on the phone. That's really, really, really helpful. If it's within a family, I really don't know what you could do. I really don't know. And see, if you have kids, different kids at different ages respond differently to their parents. Like if you have a child that is a rebel, or if you have a young child that is very difficult, crying a lot, rebelling a lot, oh yeah, macam-macam yang terjadi. I don't really know what the answer for them is, and it is worse if you are in a smaller house, and it is worse again if you don't have your own room that you can just say, well, at least I can go into my room and be by myself. But if you young people, for example, sharing a bedroom, very difficult. Excellent question. Sorry, I don't have a better answer. Anybody else?
Thank you, Ross. Is Woolworth and Coles still operating during the pandemic?
Yes, they are doing very good business.
Right.
Sales have gone up.
The same thing happened with IGA?
IGA, I don't know. I've got an IGA and it's still very busy. Yeah, they're businesses that seem to have done fairly well.
Right. Because you mentioned that people are allowed to actually go and do their grocery.
Yeah, oh yeah. The rules are different in different places. We're allowed to go out to get exercise. We're allowed to go out and buy food, or we're allowed to go out if it's part of our job. We have a job and it's part of our work. What happens is lots of people go for long walks, and we've got lots of nice parks in our part of the city, and you have lots of people going out for a walk. And perhaps they didn't go out for walks before, but they do now.
Yeah. Just because they can't really stand it if they have to live in the house for a very long time.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
The thing is, in the place where I live, because people are not allowed to go to malls, and because malls and shopping center are closed as well, they go to grocery store, and that makes the grocery store pretty packed with people, which is bad for people as well.
And social distancing.
Can I give tell my experience in here in Lombok?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So in Lombok, we have like this huge mall, right? It's called Epicentrum. And then the Epicentrum mall itself is actually it's closed. Like the mall is closed, but they open the side door, which
Oh, yeah.
makes the stores in the mall is open.
Yeah.
They are all open, and even though the mall itself is closed, but they all open, and it's dark. So, but the thing is, like, so there's no medicine, a pharmacy
Yeah.
open,
Yep.
like near my house, so I have to go there. And then I'm pretty surprised because there are people like buying clothes for Idul Fitri, which
Yeah.
is weird. And
Yeah.
there are people buying clothes and buying groceries, so they have like a huge grocery store there.
Yeah.
And there are people buying groceries there, and it's pretty packed. It's very, very packed.
Yeah. Yeah. At the peak of our lockdown, most of our stores shut. And there were only certain kinds of stores were allowed to be open. So most of those shops in the malls were shut. And there were, here in Australia, in the big malls, there was very few people, except at the big supermarkets, which were Coles and Woolies. Now, all the restaurants, coffee shops, they were all closed. And even when they're allowed to open, the rule here is going to be that they're only allowed to open with a small number of people. So lots of them say, not worth opening, you lose lots of money. So it's very interesting that if you can go in the side door and there's lots of shops open, that you can still do shopping. That's interesting.
And what's the point in closing the mall there? If people can still go through the side door.
That's what I mean. And the government just let it be. Like, they just leave it alone. And they don't practice the 6-foot distance stuff. Like, because it's very, very packed.
Yeah.
And everyone just, yeah.
I think the 6-foot thing to some extent is a cultural thing that could be very difficult to change. In Australia, people don't strictly stick to 6 feet or 2 meters or 1.5 meters or whatever it is. But in Perth, people have been very diligent in social distancing as much as they can. And the shops are all set out. So once upon a time you had 2 doors, you could come in, you could go out either door. Nowadays for social distancing, one is the way in, one other door is the way out. And they set it up in shops when they're open, that even in the shop people will social distance. And most people have been pretty good. But I think that in Indonesia it would be very difficult to be strict with the rule. Yeah, thank you for the experience. Yeah, I haven't been to Lombok. I go via Bali to East Java, but I haven't been to Lombok. Yeah, anybody else?
Continuing the point on economic recession, incoming economic recession, what's your stance on homelessness? Because there's no doubt in my mind that the number of homeless people worldwide will jump up after the outbreak is relatively over. And for these people, bouncing back in the terms of economic ability, it might be twice as hard for them because homelessness is not a good look on resume. So I imagine that it's doubly as hard for them to find a new job after the quarantine. What's your take on this?
Oh, I think there's more than one dimension to this. I think there's, and I'll try and go through them. First of all, there were people that were homeless before coronavirus, and they've been homeless for a long time. What the government did here is put some of them into a hotel. And they said, we think that it is dangerous for you to be homeless. We'll put, not everybody, but they put a number of them into hotels. And what happened is that these homeless people were put into a really nice hotel, but they don't like living in a hotel. They're so used to being homeless. So they left the hotel and preferred to become homeless. That's one kind of person. And what's happened is very few of them have got coronavirus anyway. The second kind of person is the people that could become homeless because they can't afford to pay rent or mortgage. They can't afford to pay for accommodation. I don't think that is going to be a problem in Australia. Most of these places realise that it's a general problem. Interest rates now are already very, very low, and banks are doing whatever they can to keep their customers, because they'd rather have paying customers than houses that they can't sell. In Indonesia, you have another problem. They're not people who have a house. They're not people that have that are homeless, but they are people who are squatters. For example, I've got a friend in Malang, in Tidar. In Puncak Tidar, for all of you who know, there used to be an amusement park that you could go into, and it had the 7 wonders of the world. Ini orang lama di Malang. There was a Sphinx, there was the Eiffel Tower, all sorts of things you could go into, and it didn't work. It went broke. Nobody went there. Nobody liked it. But some of those buildings were taken over by squatters. There's Jalan apa namanya, terusannya Jalan Raya Langsep goes up to Denoyo from the perampatan at Plaza Dieng, that used to be Plaza Dieng, and half of that is just orang nunut. They don't own that land. They don't pay rent on it. It's government land, and they just squat there. So in Surabaya, down on the riverbank, there's a little shanty town where people have built these little huts, and they just live there. They don't own the land. What I wonder might happen is that in Indonesia, you might have more squatters. You know, they're not homeless. They don't have a home, but they're squatting somewhere on somebody else's land. Yeah, good question. Very good question. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? I think what's going to happen in Australia is that the banks are going to have to take the hit, that in some cases they're just not going to get paid. There is another kind of problem related to this, is with mortgages, the government has said, look, come to some kind of fair compromise. With businesses that pay business rent, The business is closed right now. They can't operate with the virus on. How do they pay commercial rents? And what you do if the land owner still demands full payments for a business that cannot have any customers? That becomes very difficult. Nobody knows the answer. Yeah, good question. Very good question. Sorry, I wish I had a better answer because I don't know that there's perfect answers out there. Yeah, anybody else?
Right, is there anyone who wants to have any questions or just sharing their stories? Or, you know,
Okay.
So yeah?
Can I?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I just want to share what happened in Malang. What happened in Malang lately? Lately is in one day there is a 4 to 5 motorcycle gun in the night because yeah, we need money and people tend to steal someone else's property to get that money.
Yep.
And when they got caught, to escape that, they always say like, I am the ODP, orang dalam pengawasan, because they likely get a coronavirus, something like that, and then they escape from that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's a good way to escape from stealing accusation. But well, it's happened here, and
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Yeah, maybe you have some better explanation about this. Well,
I think it is a really good question. I think that what happens here is that people, if they are caught thieving, there is that the law is still the law, and coronavirus is not an excuse. So it would be just as bad. What has happened here that is interesting is that most kind of crime has actually gone down. And I think the reason for it, I don't know, but I think the reason for it is that most people are at home most of the time. So it is very difficult to break into a house if people are in the house. So most kinds of crime have gone down. The one kind of crime that has gone up is domestic violence, which often means husband beating wives. That's illegal, gets reported to the police, and the police act on it. That's the kind of crime that has gone up. But most other crimes have gone down. Here, now in Indonesia, I can't say. Yep, very good question though. Good question. Anybody else?
Can I say something?
Yeah, very welcome.
Because like in near of my grandma's house, they are one of her neighbors that got coronavirus, and then they became the neighborhood basically humiliated them, the people who get coronavirus, because they took picture of their house and then they share it on their WhatsApp group, like this is the house of the person that get coronavirus and blah blah blah, and they even share the children's picture, which is not very good thing. So yeah, I guess that's why they escape, because they don't want to be exposed.
Yeah, but I mean it is very bad, and it's not helping anybody. Who's getting helped by that? I mean, all you're doing is humiliating somebody.
Exactly.
I think the humiliating people doesn't help. Yeah.
Okay, is there any other questions or questions? Or sharing
can I just say one other thing about that?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. I think it would be a good chance for Pak RT to come in and bertindak mestinya. I mean, all the people I know who've been RT RW are good people trying to help. And I think
yeah, the thing is, the one who posted the pictures to the WhatsApp group is the RT.
oh.
Yeah.
No, that's not good. That's not good. He might have meant well that these people need to be isolated, but isolated and humiliated are not the same thing. Yeah. What happens, the rules here for isolation are very good. What happens is you have to be in your house. You're not allowed out for 2 weeks, and you're not allowed out even to get food. Somebody has to bring you food. So no social contact whatsoever. And I think it has worked pretty well.
That was a really scary twist. That the Pak RT himself is the one who who does that.
Yeah. Yep. Very good.
Yeah.
I would like to make a comment.
Comment. Yeah, very welcome.
Yep, thank you so much. I am Drao. I am from Senegal, and I'm presently in the United States.
Oh yeah.
It's where I'm following this webinar. I just would like to come back to the idea of humiliation, which happens most of the time in the context of coronavirus. I think that it is one point where most governments have failed in terms of communication, because the population should be informed on the fact that coronavirus is not a humiliating disease. It's not because you are bad that you catch the disease, because it's a disease that can be caught by anyone. Whatever your social class, whatever your social rank, you can be victim of coronavirus. Yeah. And when somebody also is a victim of coronavirus, he should be sensitized on the dangers he's on population and on himself. For example, if you have coronavirus and you don't reveal it, you may die, because you may like to have assistance as early as possible. And also you are a threat for society itself. So you should be kind of, you should love your country, you love your neighbors, you love your people, to reveal that you are a victim of coronavirus. And those people also in your neighbors should, instead of maybe running away from you or humiliating you or stigmatizing you, they should help you. What the person which is victim of coronavirus needs is health assistance, but also he need moral assistance.
Yeah,
that's the main area where government have failed. Most government around the world, because this idea of stigmatizing people who are victim of coronavirus also happens in my home country, in Senegal. And people sometimes they have the tendency to hide the sickness. Okay, they hide the sickness because they don't want their neighbor to run away from them, and they don't want their neighbor also to stigmatize them, because they think that even after the outbreak, we hope that it will be over very soon. People will keep on saying that these people were victim of coronavirus, and they can keep on fleeing from them, far away from them.
True. This is a problem in lots and lots of countries. In one of the most important cases where it is really normal with people who are born with deformities. And the other one is leprosy. When with leprosy, it affects your nerves, so hands and feet, and sometimes parts of your face become deformed. I won't go into how that goes, and I'm not an expert, but even when those people have been completely cured of leprosy, other people are still afraid of them. And it's basically considered a bad thing. And yeah, it's a very unhelpful attitude. Yep. Yeah, no, I understand, Dra. That's very, very, and to be ashamed of it is the worst thing you can do, because then you just give it to everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. It's 12:18 or 12:18 here, so it must be 11:18 there. I do have two other points to make, and I don't need to spend as much time on these, but if you have questions, that would be a good thing to do. It's this one, political problems. What I said is that the health advice seems to be the same nearly everywhere. Where you're getting such conflicting views is from the politicians. I've got President Trump and the map of China, and you know, when they say something, it is not much to do with good health advice. It is often according to their political interests, and sometimes even just their political party interests. I mean, in the US, you get the Republicans and Democrats, and they'll blame each other for all sorts of things. You'll get the states that'll blame the president for all sorts of things. One of the things that's happened in America more, in Australia a little bit, is that people look at the government and they say, you have put us on lockdown. We should be free to make our own decisions on what we will do. So for them, the idea of personal freedoms become the issue. You know, this is a democracy. We should be free. We should be allowed to do what we want. But you're making all these extra rules that are very tough, very difficult, and they constrain us a great deal. So China and US blaming each other. President Trump says, I've done the best thing ever, and everybody else thinks, no, we disagree with you. In Australia, the states have worked together very, very well. In America, the states have had to make all their own decisions because the federal government in the United States hasn't done that at all. The other political thing that comes up, and you've already brought it up in Indonesia, is how much money does the government have that they can spend on the problem? Can they pump billions of dollars into the economy? Can they pay all the people that don't have jobs right now? That all becomes a very big issue. If they don't have the money, solutions become a little bit more difficult. But can I say, where is it? Vietnam is not usually considered a rich country, but they've beat the virus. They've done very well. So even if you don't have a lot of money, but you make the right policy decisions in government, it seems that you can be in control. In Australia, the government has pumped hundreds of billions of dollars into fixing the problem. Some people are probably going to get paid more now than they would any other time. In Indonesia, I don't know, don't want to comment, but for governments it is a very, very expensive thing to handle, and I don't know how they're going to do it. Yeah, it gets very political at that stage, so let's not have too many comments on that. The other point that I want to make is that there have been different kinds of advice. Okay, we've seen there's been some really bad information out there. There are some places where you can get really, really good information. On this one's podcast, best I know. Every day I get new information if I want it, and I know it's going to be something that I can trust. There has also been the middle ground. It has been good advice on health. Generally, you know, if you eat good vegetables, you know, get enough exercise, it will prop your general health. That's good advice on general health. Doesn't mean it's going to fix coronavirus. It'll make you healthy, but if you get coronavirus, it won't affect you. So that's another thing. There is, and it might even boost your immune system. I think garlic is good for your immune system. Some kinds of other nutrients are good for your immune system, but just good health advice doesn't make you corona advice free. Comments? What kind of advice?
Yeah, that's a really good point about Vietnam. Vietnam is, like you said, it's not considered a big country or a country that is considered a developed country, but they can actually beat coronavirus in a very short time, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I was very surprised that I have basically colleagues, I don't know them very well personally, they're in there, and they said hardly any coronavirus in Vietnam right now. And I mean, Perth has done really well. I think we've got 2 million people here. I think we've got 7 active cases. And we know what they are, we know how they got it, and they're either in hospital, in lockdown. So it can work. Yep, okay, that's everything that I wanted to say, but I'm very happy for any other comments. We still have a little bit of time.
Yeah. All right, so any comments or further questions, probably? Oh, there's actually a lot of comments on Padlets already. Is it okay if I just read it out for you, Ross?
Yep.
All right. So there's this one. Oh, everything is anonymous. So I give my neighbor some homemade food because I know they need it, but I'm also aware of the fact that the government advises against it. I don't have coronavirus nor any of my family members, but turns out the neighbor that I gave food has it. Me and my whole family has already tasted negative, and they didn't get it from our food. But it still make me afraid to give another people food, and they just lost their job, so I know they'll need it. But then we were testing for coronavirus. The government basically harassed us for not doing what they advised to stay inside and don't interact with others. And now my mind and heart is on the wall.
Oh, yeah. Now, what I've been told is that there's no cases of it being passed on by food, but it is possible to have the virus on a surface of some kind, and if a person touches the surface, and especially if after touching the surface they touch the eyes, nose or mouth membranes, it can pass that way. The thing that I don't like about this story is that people are looking for somebody to blame, and I think that's a bad thing. And if somebody has tried to do the right thing and be careful, blaming them is not a good thing. If they have meant well and still done the wrong thing but not intentionally, you can tell them how to do better next time, but blaming is not good.
It never is, the blame game.
Yeah, that's right. And it doesn't help.
Exactly. All right. So should I go to the next comment?
Yep.
Right. So there's another one. In my opinion, it would be hard for democratic country to hold a full lockdown policy, especially Indonesia, because it would make the economic and the health imbalance, or imbalance the economic, and the poor people will suffer the most. I think our government struggle with this situation. Okay.
I think Indonesia is sorry, first of all, go back to your first comment. It's not just a matter of whether you're a democratic country or not. Most democratic countries have emergency procedures, so the government can declare an emergency and do something about it. Normal freedoms don't apply. For example, in a case of war, you will have all sorts of powers of government that don't normally exist. If you have a natural disaster, I'm thinking fire, earthquake, floods, the government can declare an emergency and normal democratic freedoms don't exist. So that's the democracy question. I think the rich versus poor question, that is not at all clear. For example, if you might live in a fancy house and have a big business, but you might have lots of debt and you might go broke and lose everything. So just being from the supposedly wealthy class doesn't mean you're immune from economic problems at all. It might mean that you have the reserves to ride them out, but you don't know that. I think that in Indonesia, whatever happens, the people at the bottom of the social strata, I mean, they're going to have a very difficult problem, whatever happens. Yeah, and ironically, I think the people in the village might be doing better. for several reasons. One, most of them own their houses and land because they inherited it. Two, they grow their own food. And three, they are fairly easy to cut off from the outside world if they want to. So they might do better than the people in the city that work in the gig economy. You know, you earn money today, you get money today, you spend money today, and that's how you live. But I agree, Indonesia is very difficult for that. Yeah, good question. Very good question. Anybody else?
The next one would be, I saw a video from NAS Daily. I think this one's from Facebook. The fact that Taiwan, next to China, the first country that only have around 400 people and 6 people died, why? Because Taiwan became the first country that banned travel from Wuhan, and the people there have fast respond to start wearing masks. Also, Taiwan became the country that helped other country to provide 17 million masks, if I'm not mistaken about the amount. Yeah, so basically Taiwan is doing well during the pandemic.
Yep, they're the first people. Yep, cutting themselves off was a really good step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and other places around the world have done that, and generally that has been a good thing. The question is not how you do this, but how do you get out of it now? How much do you open up your country? Yeah, good point. But yeah, Taiwan got it right.
And if I'm not mistaken, Taiwan was the first country who reported the COVID-19 to WHO.
Yeah, not surprised at all. Yep. Yeah, that's good. Yep. Next question.
Next question would be, oh, that is all in the rest is just an agreement of what Taiwan has done. Imagine if it is you as a German, but I also think the media is only want to report something that is bad to get people's attention. Oh, this is actually a pretty good point. What the media is covering and what is actually happening in the real world.
Yeah. There's a couple of things going on here. One is, of the media, which ones do you trust most? For example, I said that we've got some government media that are more trustworthy than private media, but the private TV stations here have been very good because they can't say anything really stupid and get away with it. The people on the website news services and blogs can say anything they like, and they're going to get away with it. Yeah. Yep.
All right.
The other thing, there's a conspiracy theory on this one. I know somebody that believes that the entire world press is manipulated by some hidden dark force, and only a few people have told us the truth. And the conspiracy theory that the whole world media system is wrong. Okay. I don't really believe that. I believe that you have different political persuasions in the press. For example, in some places you have a right-wing press and a left-wing press. In America, you have some right-wing newspapers and some left-wing newspapers, some right-wing TV stations and some left-wing TV stations. And that's true, but I don't believe that the whole world media system has been subject to a conspiracy.
Okay. Is there any questions? Probably. We still have about 10 minutes left. I just want to comment on your point about village people will do well compared to people who lives in the city, because my father-in-law is a farmer, and he is pretty much self-sufficient, doesn't really need to interact with the rest of the world to sustain his life. And yeah, he owns a land, he owns a house. So basically, he is more secure than my family at the moment, I would say.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I can understand it. For the orang desa, the difficult thing is anything that requires money.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Okay. If there's anything more, I'm very happy. If there's nothing more, then perhaps it's coming close to time to close.
All right.
Pat Daniel is still there. Pat Daniel Ginting, Amy, any comments? Been very quiet.
Yeah, we are actually listening to you and the interaction. Yeah, I think today it is a very great topic, and I think it's the question and the Q&A session is very deep, I think. And we cover not only about media, we're talking about social economy and also politics as well. So it's very compact, I think, this session. And yeah, I'd say this is an awesome session. Thank you very much.
Oh, good, good. Glad you enjoyed it. Yep. And it's the questions that make it live. If I had to listen to myself, I go to sleep. But I like the questions.
Yeah, and I have comments from my friends that they were very shocked that you can speak Indonesian. No, probably some of the guests here were very oh my God, you can speak Indonesian and like that. It was still like a little bit like shook. Yeah, like shaking.
Oh, really? Okay. Ini Bu Emi saya jelaskan. Anak saya yang berasal dari Madiun, yang sekarang di Kalimantan, ijazahnya sebagai guru bahasa Inggris untuk ngajar di SMP negeri. Dalam berapa puluh tahun, jumlah kata bahasa Inggris bisa dihitung dengan jari. Karena tidak suka bahasa Inggris dengan saya. Padahal pengertiannya itu luar biasa. Tapi suruh omong selalu bahasa Indonesia terus. Dan cucu, menantu bahasa Inggris sama sekali tidak bisa. Ya itulah. Yep.
Ya mungkin ada Bapak Ibu yang dari luar Macung semisal mau komen dalam bahasa Indonesia juga enggak apa-apa. Mungkin sekedar mau statement atau opinion juga nggak apa-apa. Mumpung masih ada waktu karena kita tinggal 19 menit lagi.
Yeah. Sepi sekali.
All right. I have some comments that is addressed to you, Ross. I would like to thank you. Your presentation is interesting and very helpful. I would also like to thank you to all of those amazing NHS, including the one who's fasting since it would be harder for them. Okay.
Yep, very good. Yep. Daniel, I see DG on the bottom of my screen, so I know he's listening, and he's the guy who set it up in the first place. Pak Daniel, komentar?
I'm listening to you, but my house is very crowded. Maybe this is, Pak Ounu will represent me to talk. Okay. Okay, Pak Ounu, take it over, or Amy. Okay, thank you very much, Pak, for this wonderful presentation. Yes.
Yep, very good.
All right. Okay, I still think that we can spare a couple of minutes to wait. Otherwise, we're just gonna close the session.
Can I?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, about I want to highlight about the racism that most Chinese people get this day.
Yeah, you mean racism in Indonesia or the rest of the world?
In the world, because it's like virus doesn't have nationality, right?
Correct.
And then apparently some people find it that the virus is Chinese, so including a president that say the virus that called the virus Chinese virus, which is bad because it's highlight like all of the Chinese are a virus, so that's bad. And then they face so many harassment these days.
Have you found that in Indonesia?
Not really in Indonesia, but in the world, like.
Yeah, luar negeri.
Indonesia.
I have heard
in Australia too.
Yeah, I have heard of cases that it has happened, but very few and very seldom. The other thing, I mean, like in Perth, we have lots of Chinese people, and I mean, they're just part of everybody else. The racism thing stops making sense for a couple of reasons. One is, I mean, they were here, they weren't in China starting the virus for a start. Two is you have a new generation of Chinese, we call them the ABCs, Australian-born Chinese. I was in a library not so long ago, and a lady walked in to talk to a friend, and she looked as Chinese as a Ming emperor. I mean, Chinese. And you think, well, she's Chinese. And then she opened her mouth, and she's an Aussie. She's a very Australian. So even if they look Chinese, it doesn't mean that they're very Chinese. And sometimes the Chinese married to Australians. You have the kids, you know, one parent's Chinese, one parent's white Australian, for example. You know, what's Chinese mean anymore? The other thing is that racial prejudice. I'll tell you a couple of stories. As soon as we've got time, I'll tell you a couple of stories. When my kids were little, we were in Malang, and the kids were going to Wesley International School up in Tidar. And Amy's best friend at the time was from Taiwan. And somehow it came up, and I said, you know, and it's changed now, but back then, I said, you know, there would be people in Australia that wouldn't like your friend because she's Taiwanese, you know, she looks Chinese. And Amy, and she said, but my friend's a really nice person. And she was a very nice person. And Amy's answer was, Dad, are there people in Australia that are really that stupid that they would be prejudiced against people that are really nice? And of course, you know, there are a few people that are prejudiced. I don't think it's widespread. But that was her answer. The other one, when we first talked about this, was Christina. And I said to Christina, that there's people called Javanese people, and their skin is a brown colour, what we call sawamatang. And he said, look at Mbak Pipin, look at Ibu Tiong, see they got the brown colour skin? Really? Oh, never knew. You see Javanese have got black hair and usually dark brown eyes? Really? Never noticed. Oh. And did you notice that you speak a different language? Like this thing here is not called a table anymore, it's called a meja. Oh yeah, we do. Oh, I never realised. You know, prejudice is a silly thing. Get over it.
Exactly. All right, so thank you, Gwina. Is there anyone else?
Oh, okay. So I want to add something. Can I?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. In Indonesia, the doctor and the assistant doctor, in here we are happen to be something like we are judged by our affiliation. We are something that had connection with health, mental control, and something like that. And then people in here are like judge us if we may have coronavirus or something like that. So they are take distance with us, and I think that's something hurt more than the coronavirus itself. Something like prejudice.
Yeah. The thing with the virus is you don't know who's got it and who doesn't have it. And the best advice so far is, unless they're people in your bubble, you should distance with everybody. Yeah. I don't have a better answer than that.
Yeah. I mean, well, it is our culture. So what we're gonna do is just take it and get over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Is that it, Michael?
Yeah.
All right. So because it's already 11:50 in Indonesia, it's a little bit over an hour in your place, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, it's on my computer. It says that it is now 12:50 here.
All right.
You better start the jump.
Okay. So that means the end of our webinar for today. Thank you very much, Ross. It's been a pleasure listening to your lecture.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone here also appreciates and likes it because of the engagement. We've got a little bit over 90 people as attendees, including the presenters as well. It's been a huge hit. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. And I've enjoyed it too. First time I've actually done anything quite like this. I mean, I've done video conferences before, but never did a webinar before. And I especially enjoy people's questions.
All right.
So thank you, especially for those people who ask questions. I'm sorry I don't have perfect answers for everybody, but nobody else does either, as far as I know.
Perfect. Because we're still new with this coronavirus thing, and we're trying to actually grasp how it works, how to counter it, what is its measure, and everything else.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess that would be it. For the closing, I would like to let Amy do the closing because there are still things that the attendees need to do before they can actually leave the chat room. But once again, thank you very much, Ross. It's been a pleasure.
Yep.
And yeah, don't hesitate to actually do a lot of webinars in the future because probably we're going to contact you again for more discussions. If you
yeah, just give me a topic and that I can talk about. That's all. Yep, very good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ounu. Thank you very much, Ross. Today's really great. It's a great webinar. And for the attendees, for the participants, I'm going to show you an exit form, which you can access after this. As usual, it will need your data, and the data will be converted into your e-certificates. And we will open it for about 15 minutes from now. So let me share the link first. Okay, please wait for a minute. It takes time. Okay. Okay, now you can see that there is a link bit.ly/exit form 4, which you can access and fill the form. And it starts from now. So you can fill it from now, okay? So yeah, I guess that's it for today. Thank you very much once again for all the participants. Those of you who have given questions and comments, thank you very much. Those are very deep questions, good quality, as Ross said. And thank you very much, Ross. We know that no one can have perfect answers, but for us, it's great enough. So thank you very much.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for all the committee members, for all the participants. And for tomorrow, we will have the last webinar done by, the speaker will be Professor Deborah Lee from University of Vanderbilt. Tomorrow we will have it at 9 a.m. And if you would like to attend, Ross, you are most welcome to. Yeah, we were waiting for you there.
Yep.
Yes. So yeah, thank you very much. Don't forget to fill the exit forms. We will open it for 15 minutes. We already got 6 responses. Pay attention to the letters because everything is in small letters or lowercase letters. And meanwhile, I will play a song. Would you like to listen to keroncong, Ross?
Pardon?
Would you like to listen to any song like keroncong? Like we were talking about keroncong. Because if you want, I can like search for it, keroncong.
No, you don't. Cukup.
Iya, Pak ya.
Okay, yep. Go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I have a problem to fill the form.
Okay, how can I help you? What is the problem?
Well, do I need to go in my search bar and put it over there, or what should I do?
Oh yeah, actually you need to open a tab in Google Chrome or any kind of browser, and please type the bit.ly just as you see in the screen, bit.ly/exit form 4.
I did so, and I found that it proposed kind of bit.ly home, Facebook, or bit.ly custom URL.
Oh, I see. Let me see then. Okay. Can you try it one more time?
Yeah, let me try it. Yes, now it's working.
It's working?
Yeah.
I cannot do also.
Oh yeah, what is it, ma'am?
Yeah, I cannot also access to the bit.ly exit form 4.
Okay. Have you typed the S at the end of the form, ma'am?
I did.
Can you refresh it one more time?
Okay, in the Chrome, yeah?
Yeah, in the Chrome. I would suggest Chrome.
Okay, let me do it again.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it works with me. I did it.
Okay. Because usually it has to do with the uppercase, or and there is no space.
Sorry, I give up.
Oh, okay. If you have difficulty, feel free to contact me via WhatsApp, ma'am, and I will send you the link.
What is your WhatsApp?
Okay, okay. Are you in the WhatsApp group already?
I don't think so.
Okay, then if you, okay, I will give you my WhatsApp number. Everyone can actually contact me via this WhatsApp.
Okay,
if you have
thank
difficulties.
you. Yeah, sorry to trouble you.
Oh, no, it's okay. My WhatsApp number is 0
0
8
0 8
1
1
252
2 5 2
6 0
0
7 8
7 8
7 7.
7 7.
Yes.
Let me repeat. 081252607877.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Ibu, Assalamualaikum Ibu Ibu Indrani.
Yes, I am.
Ibu, kemarin saya juga ikut, cuma untuk webinarnya ini, untuk exit tiketnya saya belum dapat Ibu. Gimana caranya ya Bu?
Oh iya, itu kemarin sudah ikut ya, Budu
kemarin
ya?
juga sudah ikut, tapi tidak pernah bisa masuk gitu. Di email saya sudah ngirim kalau bukti saya keikutan saya, kemudian ini juga sudah ada, cuman saya tidak pernah bisa mengeluarkan ininya, exit untuk exit form 4-nya yang kemarin juga belum bisa.
Iya, enggak apa-apa Ibu, nanti dikirim ke email saya yang Bebasari, atau nanti bisa WhatsApp saya, nanti saya datanya ulang.
Oh gitu. Nyun sewu, nomor teleponnya Ibu mungkin WhatsApp-nya.
Oh, saya add-kan di sini ya Bu ya.
Oh, sebelah GG, sebelah mana?
Oke. Oh. Saya ketikkan di layar ya, Bu ya?
Iya, iya.
Nah, 081 252. Nah,
di mana? Belum ada Ibu.
kelihatan ya, Bu ya? Ya.
Oh iya, iya sudah. Dengan Ibu?
Ami.
Maaf Ibu Ami pakai Telegram ya?
Iya, saya ada Telegram, ada WhatsApp.
Oh, tapi ini yang keluar Telegram ya, bukan WhatsApp.
Oh, enggak apa-apa kalau Telegram, boleh.
Yeah, I did already to send to your Telegram.
Oh, okay.
Terima kasih.
Sama-sama, Bu.
I got it already, Bu Emi. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. You're welcome.
I got it from my friend.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Bu.
You're welcome. May I leave the meeting?
Yes, of course, ma'am. You can leave the meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you so much, Ami. Yeah.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Everything for everything. See you for the next tomorrow. Tomorrow will be one meeting, another meeting. Okay.
Yes, there will be another meeting at 9 a.m. Boo.
Okay. I forgot the title. What was it?
The title is Getting Student Engaged.
Oh, okay, okay.
So we will talk about the technique, how to make.
I will participate tomorrow.
That would be great, Boo. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Boo. You too. So, okay, thank you everyone. Bu Devina mungkin bisa di end meetingnya.